Good morning, everybody. This is Jay Marsden, the Marsden Law Group. John Drohan with Main Effort Financial. You are here with the first 2018 show for Money in the Law, and I hope everybody had a fantastic holiday, had a great Christmas, great Hanukkah, great end of the year, and a great New Year's. How'd you do? Did you have a good holiday?
I had a very good holiday. Thank you for asking.
Please, and
Happy New Year.
Did you get that sweater you're wearing right now for the
holidays? No. This
is
nice. My old one. No, this is my warm and cozy.
God,
well, as everybody knows, it's been a little chilly.
You know what you're missing? You're missing a scotch and maybe a cigar.
Yeah.
That's right.
Scotch, a cigar, or an old leather-bound book.
Yeah, a leather-bound book. Yep. Remind me of Tom Selleck on Blue Bloods on Sunday at dinner with that sweater on as he gathers the Reagan family around the table. That's what you look like.
Laugh now.
Oh, I'm laughing.
You're chilly.
Oh, I'm laughing. I am.
Christian joins us today. Holliston Cable Access TV is here.
But did you know Christian was going to be here, and that's why you wore the sweater? Did you talk to Christian about this?
No. But I talked to Don. Don
said prepare to be on TV.
Don Cronin. Well, he was included. Well, here's how it works. Okay, and we're going to put this on TV so everybody can see this.
I'm a little disappointed.
Here's how it works.
Good.
I get an email from Lisa Hedrick, who is one of the big wigs over at Holliston Cable Access.
Total hitter.
And I get this. The email is usually on Monday, and it says MTL question mark.
Yep.
And I say, and it's in order to remind Don whether or not, or confirm whether or not we were actually doing it. And of course, Christian is just like at everybody's beck and call.
Oh,
Christian,
he drops everything.
It's like, Christian, listen, we need you to get over there to Money Law. So Christian, we appreciate you coming here. We know it's not easy.
He looks a little exhausted, by the way, because the last time I saw Christian, he doesn't even know this, I was standing across the street from Christian's house watching Christian shovel the driveway.
Make that stop.
And I was inside. It was nice and warm and toasty. He's outside working, I'm just going to tell you, pretty hard.
What a guy.
And I said to myself, man, he looks so like he's working out of that. Matter of fact, I'm working up a thirst just watching him.
I better call Cable Access right now.
So I didn't want to bother him. He looked pretty focused on the task at hand, so I didn't get involved. I just said I'm going to let him do his thing. He's a millennial. He doesn't need advice from an old guy like me. He's got it covered.
I mean, would he take advice from an old guy?
He seemed to have it all under control.
In one ear and out the other.
He seemed to have it all under control.
You have no idea what you're doing. We're not old enough for them to start appreciating our advice. Or actually, you know what? They're not old enough.
Nobody wants my advice.
They're not old enough.
No, not those guys.
In 10 years, Christian's going to be like, I remember those guys told me, they gave me some advice.
Mentioned about something about compounding and the growth of money over time.
They weren't as stupid as they sounded.
Yeah, that's right. And he'll be saying that wearing a sweater that looks just like that. He'll be like, you know what? This is the same exact sweater that John wore on the radio show.
Where did you get this?
Yeah, this is great. Yep, super. So any New Year's resolutions that you want to start off with? You want to go on record right now with a resolution?
So our New Year's resolution in the office is the green folder. So girls, you're watching this now. I know you're listening on Saturday.
But go ahead.
Well, the green folders. We're going to do that, and I'm going to make that happen. The second thing is e-money. We're going to make, and these are two things that both Joanne and Sharon do not want to do.
Okay.
And you know what I said? I don't care.
Well, that's why your name's on the letterhead, you big dog.
I don't. Well, yeah, my name isn't on the letterhead.
Well, you should put it on your letterhead. That's why I have a law firm.
Talk to my guy.
Anybody's name you want to
talk to my guy. So we're going to do be a little bit more organized. There's some organizational things we like to do, and e-money, of course, is what we provide for all of our clients, which is the client portal where you get to see everything.
Okay, so that's not a currency thing. It's e-money is not some
e-money is not something that I've made. No,
right.
It's not something we made. No, e-money is your online where you can see all of your stuff, and we're going to make sure our clients sign up because it's a little bit, you have to do a little bit of legwork.
Sure.
But once you do, no one ever regrets it.
All right. Oh, who would?
What about you? What is your? Read more?
I'm sorry?
Read more?
I definitely read more. I just telling Ray, I want to, I'm going to, first of all, I've decided that in 2018, I'm going to move into a less news is better because the news cycle sort of taken my life, taken over in 2017. I don't need that anymore. So I'm going to try to focus on other things, use technology a little smarter to say, you know what? I don't need exposure to 24 hours. I need about an hour to read the newspaper, and that's about it. That's it. And then put it away for the day. I don't need to be bird dogging the news all day long.
Tell you what,
because you can find out pretty much
everything you don't really want to know.
Yeah, going to go kind of old school on that. And from a work perspective, for this year, it's always about process. Yeah. It's always about sort of taking a step back and saying, okay, how are we doing things? What do we need to be better at? I'm really good at getting it to about 85% of the project, and then that's kind of where
you
it
are
tends
really
to,
good at that.
That's where it tends to stall. So I need to work a little bit harder on. And I'll tell you, you know what it comes down to. You can appreciate this. The problem is, you start a project, you start a task, and then the phone rings, right? And you feel for all the right reasons, because you want to service your clients. You feel the need to pick that phone up and answer that phone call, and then that phone call usually leads to something, to do something.
You having to make
right?
another phone
That's
call.
right. Well, so you put the project aside that you were working on, you start working on this new project, and then of course, in the middle of that project, the phone rings again, and you want to service your client, do all the right things. So I need to be a little bit better about sort of staying on task, finishing the task, and then being able to go back and say, okay, now while I was working on that, what's come up that I need to work on?
So wait a minute. So you're telling me that you're not going to multitask as much as you have been in the past?
I'm going to multitask chronologically as opposed to all at the same time. All right?
Everybody, all right, so it's
sequentially. Maybe it's sequentially. Maybe
it's
that's the
Saturday
right word.
morning. I know that all of you right now, if you're driving, roll down the window. I know it's -3. Roll down the window because you're about to fall asleep. No, you're not. This is really important stuff. Because I was going to say the same thing, but if it sounds a little like we're kind of going on and on, because it's important, because now is the time, like as Jay, we're psyched about it. Like now's the time when everybody's like, all right, it's the new year, let's do this. If you commit to like a couple of things that are going to make a difference, I think that you will come out of the gate screaming way better than you would.
Well, I mean, to your point, I mean, these are things that I'm trying to make some incremental adjustments.
Yeah, you're not getting dramatic.
No.
You're not losing 80 pounds in a month.
No. We're not knocking down the building and starting all over again. This is incremental improvement. This is going to step back and say, okay, there's a lot of things that we did really well. Out of those things that we did really well, how do we make them a little bit better, right? And for everybody who's at home, right? This is a good opportunity to take the same approach, to say, look, you know what? If we want to save some money this year, let's not focus on saving $1 million, which would be nice. Who doesn't love $1 million? Who doesn't love $1 million, right? Right? But how about an extra, I don't know, $250 a month, $300 a month?
Right.
Pick a number.
But what's the key to that, though? And you answered your own question. What's the key to doing that? So if I'm going to pick a number, right? If I can pick a number. I can say I'm going to save, I don't know, $10,000 this year. What do I have to do after that?
Well, first you got to start. You got to get started. That's what you got to do. You got to figure out.
You say you got to start.
You got to get started.
Because we got to get started right now. We're telling everybody, get started. Whatever you want to do.
That's what you got to do.
You get started.
You got to
right
get started.
now.
That's what you got to do. You got to get started, and just take the step. Right? You're not going to get there. You're not going to get there.
But that's not the answer to my question. The answer.
What is the answer?
So before you even,
the sweater is making you smarter today.
Before you even take the step,
right.
What do you need to do? What do you need to have? We talk about it every day, every time we're here. You have to have a purpose.
Plan?
You have to have a plan.
There we go.
That's
it.
I knew it. God. You knew it. I knew you studied for this quiz.
I think the glasses too. I don't even think there's any lenses in those glasses you're wearing. They just make you look smarter.
Do I have glasses?
Crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You have a plan. Yeah, you have a plan to do it.
So if I'm gonna save $10,000, how am I going to do it? I'm not just going to say I'm going to save it because I want to save it. I'm going to save it because, okay, how do I get, I'll do the math, right? So how do I get to 10,000? I may have saved 800 and change a month. Like, so how do I do that, right?
I have an answer.
Okay,
I have an answer. I'm actually going to give you an answer that my mother, my sainted mother, told me this idea 1,000 years ago.
So
okay?
this is a potential means to get to this end.
That's right. And here's what it is. And it sounds crazy. And as I've gotten older, right? Look at the whiteboard. This is great. As I've gotten older,
Jay's mom
says, as I've gotten older, these cliches that you hear about. I tell the kids this all the time. The kids think I'm insane. I said, look, guys, these crazy things that people tell you that you think are kind of a joke, right? Like, if you have a job that you go to work every day that you love, you never go to work a day in your life. Stuff like that.
Like a stitch in time saves 9?
Stuff like that. Kind of like that, right? Like, But for something like this, the plan that you just mentioned, it begins with paying yourself first. That's what gets you there, right? Now, what does that mean? Is that you looking at me like you've never heard this before?
No, I've heard of that. I don't know if I'm thinking how it applies in the.
You just said, how are we going to save 10 grand this year? And I'm telling you, you pay yourself first. That's how you do it.
So I pay myself first.
Right. So mechanically, how do you want to do it? I'm talking conceptually.
All right, so I'm going to pay myself first, meaning how?
Meaning you're going to, well, in my perfect world, where do you put your money in my perfect world? What's my favorite? What's my favorite account?
Solaris Hill brokerage account,
managed by brokerage account. That's my favorite place to put it, right? And how do you do that?
You do an ACH setup where it automatically comes out of your bank.
Yes,
so you do it. So what the ACH is it automatically comes out of your account. So you put it on fire and forget, and the money comes out of your account, out of your bank. You know, your paycheck goes into your bank, and then every month a dollar amount goes out.
That's correct.
Into said account.
That's correct. And the purpose, by the way, of having it in my favorite account is that now when you go to the Patriots game and you're at the game with 38 of your buddies and you go to the food stand, we'll call it, to get a round of refreshing beverages for your buddies, you don't say to yourself, "Oh my God, that's right." So the $250 a month that I'm trying to save, I'm going to move over so I can cover this round of beverages for my friends. No, you get it out. You have to get it out of sight, out of mind. Another one of those very favorite things that you hear that you think is a joke your whole life, and it's not a joke. Out of sight, out of mind. Get that money out of your hands. Get it in a safe, protected location that makes it a little bit more difficult to get a hold of.
All right, so let me just so just to clarify, it's not protected in that it's not protected from like market loss or anything.
No. Protect it from yourself.
You're right. So I'm protecting it from myself. So the first thing we're talking about is Jay's concept of pay yourself first. So pay yourself first is a cool way, a really fun way to say this is to save. Like save money, but save it in a place where I can't. It's not like it's inaccessible, but it's not like I can just go. I don't have an ATM card where I can do it. I don't have a checkbook I don't have a credit card. It's in a place. It's like away from where my regular operational money is, and I can and it's there. And depending upon what the purpose of that account is, if it's a long-term investment or if it's a short-term. It's in some kind of vehicle that is appropriate to the when I'm going to use it, the time I'm going to use it. So I love that. So there you go. So there's a means to get to it. That's the mechanics of it. Where does the money come from?
Well, you just mentioned one way of doing it, which is this idea of setting it up so that you have these ACH, right? Which is basically an electronic check that comes from your checking account that's going to go into your new investment account.
Actually, speaking of which, so for those of you at home listening or watching, the Marsden Law Group and Money in the Law have recently partnered in we do business together in the sense that the Marsden Law Group uses the Money in the Law employees for witnessing documents. It's a very important part of law is that the documents have to be witnessed, correct?
All right.
I'm just saying.
This might be a whole separate show.
No, and I was just wondering when that ACH was going to get set up, in order to compensate the money in the money in the law, the main effort financial. Yeah, I know.
There you go.
So to compensate for the main effort financial people that actually witness, we probably witness 7 to 10 documents a day.
I don't think it's that, but I think it's a handful of documents.
You guys are moving some product over there.
We're definitely pushing some paper. We're pushing some paper. That's pushing some paper.
So you're right. The ACH, it's automatic setup, right? It comes from your bank.
But there's actually even a better way to do it.
What's the better way?
Many firms will let you do a payroll withdrawal.
Even better.
So now, even better is right. Now, the money goes where you want it to go
bank
before you ever even see it. That's exactly right. Now, it takes a little bit of forecasting on your part to figure out, okay, how much money do I want to save, right? How much do I want to put away? How much is going to come off the top, right? Because you're going to pay yourself first. It's going to come off the top. Again, remember, to your point, you're putting it someplace that, not impossible to get at. If you needed it, you could get it. It's there, right? But it's not ATMable, right? Or it's not available
it's
swipe
not
in an impulse.
It's not that I can. Right, exactly right. I can't get it if I'm not sitting in front of my computer, and it takes time. It takes time to move it back over.
Right.
It's there, but it's not instant.
That's right. And so the purpose of that approach is to make sure that at the beginning of the month, or monthly, or weekly, or however you get paid, you're putting aside a sum of money that's a little bit more out of reach, available if you need it, emergency funds, building up, or the beginnings of building up and moving you forward in your 2018 goal, which is hopefully to put
Save
aside
extra money.
aside a couple of bucks this year. Yeah, put aside a couple of bucks this year, right? So that's the idea behind it.
Okay, so that's how I do it. And now I go back to, so let's say that I'm starting off and I say, okay, I get paid, let's say between my wife and I, all total, we get paid $6,000 a month after taxes, after our cost, after we've contributed, hopefully we've contributed to our retirement plans, which is, so $6,000 between the two of us hits the bank per month. And so now I'm like, okay, now what do I got to do? Okay, do I just say, okay, I'm going to save $1,000 of that into my brokerage account, or what do I have to do first?
Well, ideally, you sit down and you map out how much of that $6,000 is basically spoken for lack of a better term, right? And I'm not going to say the word budget because you know what happens?
Don't say it. It's like the B word.
Well, everybody starts off 2018 and they say, I'm going to get a handle on things this year. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do a budget.
Yeah.
Well, yes, maybe. More often than not, no. Right? More often than not.
Actually, no. Just leave it at no.
More often than not, you start it, and you know what? People don't stick to it because it's painful. Nobody wants to stick to it, right? So, but yes, to your point, you need to have a sense of, you don't want to be saving $500 a month into your brokerage account if you know that you really need $6,000 a month to pay all your bills.
Yeah.
Right? So you do have to have a sense of, out of your $6,000, what's kind of your must-have expenditures, and then what's discretionary.
So in essence, you have to, as much as they're never perfect, they're never to the dime. Although I do have a handful of clients that budget to the dollar.
Oh, I'm sure.
Which is crazy. Like they come in and they're like, I won't mention his name, but I should mention his name because But anyway, great guy, one of my favorite clients. He comes in and he'll lay it down. He'll say, "Here you go." And I want to. And he said to me the other day, he's like, "I need to take money out from my son's college. I'll make the number up. I need $5,286." I'm like, who does that type of wood? How much is that withdrawal? So that's how much I need. So
to the penny. Yeah.
Most people aren't like that, but. As much as you have to have some form of a budget in the sense that you have to have an idea of kind of what your costs are, or else you won't be able to save. And this comes into play particularly when we see this a lot when, let's say remember we talked about like kind of the second time around, like people getting remarried and keeping their money separate. So if you don't have an idea of kind of what your costs are, then, or you don't like what one person's cost versus another person's cost or your collective costs, then you're not going to be able to save because one person's going to be saving, and the other person's going to be going in a debt because they're spending too much. So you have to have at least an idea of, okay, here's our budget. And we always say a budget is much more of a guideline than a rule.
Well, and one of the things that I would suggest is that this idea of some saving component, whatever it is, treat it like an item in your budget, right? Because I think what a lot of people do.
And that's your answer. See, there you go. That's it.
Because what a lot of them, finally, give me the sweater. I'm going to wear the sweater.
Take a break.
But, what a lot of people do is they look at it and they say, okay, $6,000 a month. This is how much money I need to spend, and then they spend $6,000 a month, and then they say, well, I don't have any money to save. Right? As opposed to, look, you're going to carve out $250 a month for your Comcast bill or $250 a month for your Verizon bill. So you know what? Carve out $250 a month for your savings bill, right?
Yeah.
Make it one of those obligations that you have to meet every month.
Yeah.
And that way, you get a head start on it. And as we've talked about before, if you get a couple of these months under your belt where you put a couple of bucks aside, then if something comes up, it doesn't blow that thing up, right? It's really about getting it on kind of this autopilot approach.
That's right. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk about where that money is going to come from. We're going to use one of my favorite financial terms. I'm not going to tease you with it right now, but when we come back, you're going to hear it as how that money gets there.
I love it. It's two words, right?
It's one word.
One word?
It's one word.
Right.
One word starts with an M, and we will be right back on Money in the Law with Jay Marston. John Drohan, Holliston Cable Access TV is here today in the house at my FM 101.3. On a gorgeous Saturday morning. We'll be right back.
And you're back with Money in the Law, my FM 101.3, Jay Marsden, Marsden Law Group, John Drohan, Main Effort Financial. We're talking all things 2018 in terms of saving, in terms of ending 2018 with more money in the bank than you started it with, and how do we get you there? How do we get you there? So we talked a little bit about it before the break, but John, you've had us on the edge of our seats. With some
most people right now are sitting at a green light, just waiting to go. Like
no. They've pulled over. They're sitting there with a pen or typing into their phone.
They're standing out in the cold.
Whatever it is, right? The pen doesn't work because it's so cold. The ink is frozen in the pen. So they're typing into their phone. Your magic approach to saving some money, what is it?
Where does it come from? You manufacture it.
Manufacture money. That's two words. You said one word.
Well, the M word was manufacture.
Well, it's manufacture money. That's
well,
two
I could manufacture anything. I could manufacture socks. But obviously, we're talking about money.
All right. Well, let's talk about manufacturing money. It's a phrase.
It's
not a word.
that we were talking about money. The implication is that because the show, obviously titled appropriately, Money and the Law.
All right, go ahead.
Money and the Law.
Go ahead.
We're talking about money. We're not manufacturing the law. Well, you don't do that,
You
right?
just complained about that a minute ago. There was too much manufacturing going on in the office.
I can't manufacture law.
We needed some bodies, but that was a problem. So go ahead. All right. So you manufacture money, which, by the way, I love the concept. We've talked about it on the show a million times. So what are your suggestions for mining and manufacturing money?
All right. So here's what you do. And it's simple. You got to, again, back to the whole idea, the budget idea, and to use Jay's idea of, okay, so my savings, that's going to be included in my budget, just like it's my cable bill, just like it's my mortgage. My saving is important, and I'm going to make this happen, and you have to commit to it because, like you said, it's easy to spend money. It's easy to kind of like how many times have you been you looked at your credit card, but where did I don't remember how did we get a $5,000 credit card? Like what I don't remember spending $5,000. Yeah, we say it all the time. I don't know how I don't remember using I remember saving here and there, right? Yeah. So it happens, and you can it comes out of nowhere, and you don't see it. So it has to be something that's concrete and it's part of your bills. It's part of your savings plan. So what can I do? So coming back to if I'm relatively living in green, like I'm in the black. Like in other words, I'm not on a monthly basis, and our financial plans are always. I like doing things monthly. Monthly's it's easier. People do it weekly or quarterly. Monthly makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah, so if I say, okay, so if I make $6,000 a month, and I net $6,000 a month, and I think that my cost is on or about $6,000. So let's say I'm just breaking even.
Yep.
I have to figure out a way of where I can get money from. I have to figure out where I can save. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, here are the things that I cannot that are off the table, right? So things like my mortgage. I can't pay less on my mortgage.
That's right.
However, what if I'm paying more on my mortgage? Right?
Yeah.
So we'll come back to that. So let's say my mortgage is $2,000 a month. Let's say, you know what, I'm really psyched. I like paying extra on my mortgage. I pay $250 a month.
Yeah, chip it away at it.
I pay $2,200 on my month, right? So I per month on my mortgage. So let's say that's so okay. So the $2,000, the minimum mortgage payment, non-negotiable. Yeah, that's off the table. But if I have some extra wiggle there, okay, I'll remember that later. Car payments. If I have car payments, if I'm paying for my car, whatever my loan payments are, whatever my minimum loan payments, I have to pay those. If I have a credit card bill, get it. If you have a credit card bill, that's a whole nother end. That's a whole nother story because if I'm paying down a credit card bill and I want to save, then that's a tricky combination.
Yeah, they're kind of in conflict.
So they're in big conflict, but that's another show. It's kind of how do I save when I have debt because it's important to do. So let's assume that we don't have any credit, like we pay our credit card off every month, and that's included in our budget. All right, so then I have my other hard costs, so then I say, okay, my electricity,
gas,
my
electric, cable,
my cable.
property
So those
taxes,
things,
stuff
those
like
things
that.
are always going to fluctuate. I mean, I know I try and beat my kids up. Like in our house, if you drive by our house, every light in our house is on from 5 o'clock until 11 o'clock at night. Right. Every light in every room. I'm like, why are all these lights on? Right. So there's ways to maybe potentially save there.
Yeah, well, you can call a utility. You can go on a budget with the utility and stuff like
solar.
that.
You can go solar.
You can do that.
Right,
you can do that.
So let's assume that that there's not going to be a lot of money that I can take out of there. Right. So then I go to kind of my other costs, like my more flexible or my more arbitrary
Soft
costs. Yeah. Nice. Things like my food, things, not that you're not going to buy food, but kind of what am I spending my money? So and a lot of times you'll see this on your credit card bill. You say, okay, where are we spending our money? And you say, okay, look, if we did A, if we did B, if we did C, as opposed to doing it this way, maybe we could manufacture, instead of my grocery bill a week being $300 a week, what if I made it $270 a week, $30, right?
Yep.
Just like, and I do that because instead of going to Stop and Shop, I go to not to pick stores, but I go to a store that may be less expensive, right?
Are you evaluating how much we buy, right? You say to yourself, all the stuff that we buy, this stuff piles up. I mean, everything I've ever talked to people about or read One of the places that they tell you the easiest place to manufacture money is in your grocery budget.
Easy.
Easiest place to manufacture money. It's in your grocery budget.
And the first the best way to do it, the way to start is back to our original topic. Have a plan.
Yeah.
So if you know, instead of like I'm going shopping because we need food, I'm going shopping because on Monday we're going to make this. On Tuesday we're going to make this. On Wednesday and I need stuff for school, and I need this, and your mother's coming over on Friday, so we're going to make this. So if you have like some sort of a plan, you may be able to knock some stuff out and have a much like clearer idea, and then you're not arbitrarily spending money. And
well, not only are you not arbitrarily spending money, we talk about planning. What's the number one thing that you think sort of drives people to say either let's go out or let's order takeout, right?
If you don't have food, right? If you don't have a plan.
That's right. It's the inevitable. You open up the fridge, you're like, you know what? There's nothing in here.
I don't feel like cooking.
So,
I wasn't ready for dinner.
That's right.
It's too
That's
late.
right. That's right. Let's
go
out. And it always sounds great. Let's go out. You're right. Let's go out, right? And of course, you got 4 kids. You walk in the door. It's for the most part, it's an $80, maybe $100 bill.
If you're lucky.
Walking out the door, right? So right there. So if you do that 1 or 2 or 3 times a month, and again, it's in your budget right now, and you're not running in the red, but you look at that and you say, do we need to go out that much?
Right.
If we're really committed to this plan.
Yeah, so maybe we go out 5 times a month right now. So right now, like on average, we'll go out to eat 5 times a month. One of them's probably planned. The other 4 are like, that's just the way it is. It's just worked out because of the schedule. So maybe we say, okay, look, if we're going to plan this out, maybe instead of going out 5 times, maybe we go out 4 times or 3 times. What did I just do? Right. So I probably just at that point I probably manufactured maybe $200, $150. Yeah. So now, right? So now we're like, look, now that's found, and as long as it's not spoken for or kind of getting sucked up somewhere else in some other cost, like additional cost, and we'll get to that part too. Then now I have an extra money. So already in like just a couple of examples, if I'm paying extra on my mortgage and I don't necessarily need to, then maybe I can use some of that money because the paying down my mortgage is not as important as me establishing a safety fund or a security fund or saving money for college or something like that, right?
Well, and I think the important thing to keep in mind is if you decide that I'm not going to throw money at my mortgage, you're not taking that money and throwing it in the fire.
Yeah.
I mean, you're putting this money into some other savings vehicle so that if you then decide 2 years from now that the $5,000 that I was throwing at my mortgage, now I just want to throw as a lump sum at my mortgage, fine.
Well,
you conceptually,
that's a whole other great story.
But I mean, you conceptually have that money, right? I mean, it's one thing to have a mortgage, that's great, but it's also nice to have the money in the bank that you would have used to pay off your mortgage.
And you know what? And you know, as we kind of chuckle about Jay's, his brokerage account and his love for the brokerage account. The cool thing about having an account, having like a separate account where the money comes out automatically, is that's what you do. So if you say, okay, instead of paying an extra $200 a month on my mortgage, $200 goes into this account or into some set account. Yeah. It's not lost.
Right.
It's not spent. There's no in between. There's no like vacuum or there's no like vig you got to pay on the way from one end from one side to the other.
Yeah.
So that money's saved. So it's not as if I haven't wasted it. I haven't squandered it. What I've done is I've saved it, and you know what? Maybe down the road and we always kind of talk about this. Maybe down the road I am going to be in a position where I want to pay off my loan, and everybody wants to pay off your mortgage. Everybody wants to own their house, right? But I may be in a position to do it, and you know what? Depending upon what my circumstances are, I may have the flexibility, or my kids may be done with college, and I have an extra $30,000 in the bank, and I can say, you know what? Time to pay off my mortgage. I want to do it. It's time to.
Well, I used to, and I think we had this conversation on the show before about the idea that having the money.
We have had every.
Having the money and having the ability to say, I have a $250,000 mortgage and I have $250,000 in the bank. What do I want to do here? Yeah. Well, you know what? There's a certain peace of mind knowing if you wanted the right. I'm not talking about paying it off. I'm talking about a different peace of mind. I'm talking about saying, you know what? If I wanted to pay it off, I could.
Yeah.
I have the money to pay it off. I'm choosing not to.
Jay will often call me at like 11, 12 at night and say, you know what? And I'll just say, and that's what he'll say. He'll say, if I want to pay it off, I could.
Get me yours to pay off my mortgage. Talk me out of it.
He doesn't get any numbers or anything. He goes, if I want to pay it off, I could. And I'll be like, go back to sleep. Like turn the TV off.
If you
go
want,
back to sleep.
But that's the point. The point is, people say all the time, oh, if I could just pay off my mortgage. I say the opposite. I'd say, you know what? It's not about paying off the mortgage, because then you can start saving your money all over again, because now your money is all tied up in the equity of your house.
Yeah.
I say, what you don't want to do is pay off your mortgage. What you want to do is have saved enough money to pay off your mortgage if you want to.
Yeah.
To me, that's a better feeling.
Yeah, and especially now, now since we've kind of gone on this mortgage tangent, I just want to say one thing. If your mortgage is a low interest rate, right? If it's a low interest rate, then you're really the comparison is, okay, so if I took said money and let's say I was going to invest it. Now, granted, if I invested in the market, there's no guarantee of any return, right? I could lose money. It's always that's the way the market is. But if I'm willing to assume risk in order to try and make a gain, my mortgage is at 3% and I'm investing money and I'm anticipating that I will get 4, 5, 6, 7 or higher percent because that's the risk I can take and I understand the risk of the market. Then why wouldn't I do that?
Right,
like
right.
why would I? It's almost like I'm investing money at 3%. Now, there's argument on the other side that your real estate value could go up and all that. But I'm just saying, like, from a liquidity standpoint, and that's really the key is like when I save money, when I have money outside of in said bank account, brokerage account, whatever it is, it's liquid. I can
That's right.
and liquidity equals flexibility.
And but not only that, but
I gave the equals.
Gives you the equals, but also to save. If you have been able to save enough money or put away enough money that you're coming close to or could pay off your mortgage, that money that's going to earn for you and the work that's going to do, using your analogy, it's almost like having another person working for you, right?
Exactly.
The market does well. You have $200,000 in the bank. The market goes up 10%. To save 20 grand, we've talked about it on the show 1,000 times. That's a lot of work to save 20 grand.
We're talking about now, right?
To have your $200,000 earn you another 20, fantastic. And at that point, you have so many options in terms of leveraging cash flow out of your 200. Putting your dividends and capital gains so that they pay out as cash as opposed to reinvest back in your portfolio. You have a lot of other options that even if having the mortgage bums you out, then you could take some money out of your portfolio without liquidating anything and help that offset the sting of the mortgage at that point, right? So you have a lot more options. You have a lot more options available to you that I think work to your advantage. So this idea of getting savings going, and again, we're talking outside of a retirement account. We're talking outside of a 401k. While we've always led with those things, and they're a great place to save money, you can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Right?
But that's almost like, it's like, I almost look at it differently. Like you have to save there. So you have to save for retirement. It's almost like you don't have a choice. I mean, you do have a choice, but if you want to eventually retire, you got to save for it, right? So it's almost like that's a given, right?
Yes.
Like it's a given. Right. Like we're the way we look at
those
it,
aren't options. That's not optional.
Yeah, we approach that the same way. Is that like I have to save for retirement. It's almost like a bill that I got to pay. It's a bill I got to pay, and if I don't pay it, then I'm screwed, right? It's the same thing. If I don't pay my mortgage, I'm screwed. So it's the same kind of thing. So we're talking about other money. We're talking about money that's not earmarked for retirement, maybe it's not earmarked for anything, but it's earmarked for money that I want to have in order to give me flexibility to do something.
It's not earmarked for anything, but it's money you can do anything with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's a big difference because I can tell you, from working at that small mutual fund company in town, there are a ton of people there that would say, look, I got a ton of dough piled up in my retirement account, right? Because they worked there for a long time. Like anybody who works at a big firm, right? You get your 401k going on autopilot when you're young and you just keep loading it up.
You have all that extra money.
But you can't do anything with it. You can't. I can tell you, it happens all the time. People come in and they say, geez, I have all this money in my retirement account and I want to buy a piece of rental property or I want to buy a vacation property.
Can I do first-time home buyer?
What can I do with it? And the answer is nothing. Nothing. You can't do anything with it.
Well, you can, but you're going to take a penalty.
That's right. Take a penalty. I got to pay it back. I mean, there's no flexibility. This is about trying to put a portfolio together that's savings, that's money that you can do anything you want to do with, and it covers a host of possible or potential scenarios, and it gives you a lot of flexibility.
It does. And I again, we're back. We're talking about like the idea of where does this money come from and how do I manufacture it? So the idea, the concept of manufacturing, we've kind of given a couple examples of. It's like, hey, I don't need to cut my electricity bill in half. I don't need to like cut my food bill in half. We're talking about like
incremental change.
We're talking about like nickel and diamond, right?
Yeah.
So if I can save $50 here, again, we always joke, I want to save, how much can I save on a length of pipe? It's like, look, if I save, $100 here, $100 here, $100 here, $100 here on different things that I don't have to change my lifestyle very much.
No, that's right.
And that's really the key, because it's the same thing like with weight loss, right? Like if you try and lose it all at once, you try and eat an elephant all at one time, it's like you can't do it.
Yeah, that's right.
So if I'm going to save a little bit, let's say, all right, I'm going to try and save, like I'm going to cut a little bit here, and see what that adds up to. That adds up to $300, $400, $500 a month. That's $6,000 in a year.
But you know what? Guess what? If it adds up to $100,
yeah,
then it's $100. It's $100 of found money that you didn't think you were going to have.
And that's it.
And that's what gets it going. And the idea, I think, to your point, and I think it's important to highlight this idea that we're trying to do it, or trying to suggest it in such a way that doesn't mean that your life as you knew it, prior to 12/31 is now going to be completely different. Because you said it before, the B word. People hear that and they think, I kind of like my life. I like going out to dinner every once in a while on the fly, right? And we're not suggesting that that's not something to do. We're not saying sit down and balance it to the penny. What we're suggesting is look for a couple of spots, take some of that low-hanging fruit that's available, and put it in a different place. That's all we're saying.
Because your food bill's gone from it's been cut by 80%, and all you're eating is cornflakes.
We're not even
suggesting but you're saving
that.
$100 a month.
We're just saying put it someplace different. That's all we're suggesting. You can still get it if you need to. Don't worry, it's not going anywhere.
You can still buy honeycombs.
You can still go. You still shop at Whole Foods.
Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap this up.
Sure, love to. Great, fantastic.
Right.
I guess you're all done talking about it. All right, we're
No,
going to move on.
not.
John's all done, everybody.
I'm not done talking.
I got it. Give the guy a sweater, and he's driving the bus.
I'm a little older than you, right? That's it. I feel a little bit more mature than you.
You look
today.
more mature than I do.
I know. I'm a little more settled.
Yes,
more
definitely.
settled.
You're more settled.
Look at you. You got your crazy lumberjack beard and your haircut. Yeah, you look ridiculous. You look seriously. You look. What are you? Are you going out with Christian later on?
It's very professorial.
Yeah.
That's how I pitch it.
What is this? The paper chase? Right, we'll be right back on Money in the Law with Jay Marsden and John Drohan talking about things you need to do in order to save money in 2018.
And you're back. Money in the Law. Jay Marsden, Marsden Law Group, John Drohan, Main Effort Financial. My FM 101.3, talking savings. I've saved a lot of money this year by not shaving. You talked about finding ways to manufacture money.
Yeah.
I'm not dropping $4 million on razor blades. I'm saving some dough.
Yeah.
I'm all about the family.
I'd be willing to. Let me. So I know you have an account at certain places like Hickey's Liquor and stuff like that. So I'd like to see the Christmas account. Oh, speaking of which, and I had promised that I would talk about this.
Go ahead.
How was your Christmas Eve this year?
It was very good. It was very good. Yep, we had a great time. We had it's my daughter's birthday, as you know, so we have an open house, and a lot of local luminaries stop in to check in.
As a matter of fact, I saw one of those local luminaries.
Did you? Really? Excellent.
Yeah, we talk about him often on the show. None other than our dear friend, Mr. Jason Smith.
Oh, yeah, one of my all-time favorites.
And he had mentioned that he was like, because those guys, they're Jewish, so he's like, usually we travel. He goes, this is the first time we've been back. We didn't travel like during the holiday Christmas season. So we're back, and he's like, yeah, it was a great time. It was really fun being back. We went to Marsden's house on Christmas Eve, and I'm like, really? Marsden? I go, what was happening there? He goes, oh, well, he has a party, like, I don't know, like 500 people from Holliston. I'm like, I live in Holliston. That's fine. No, that's not true. Of course I was invited.
My understanding is you have all your own blowout going on over there. And I made in my head I made multiple threats to myself to stop by and just do the pop in.
You know the door is always open. Always open.
So it was a good time. Tough one this year, as most folks know. We had my passing of my dad this year, so it was a tough holiday for my family, tough holiday for my mom. But it was good to be together, and we sort of joked and said, the holidays are a tough time to be together when you've lost somebody. They're even a little tougher when your father looks exactly like Santa Claus, and so you say to yourself, boy, all these reminders, right?
Yeah. So you're immersed in like everything Santa. So it's like, hey,
that's
Dad,
right. Yeah, that's great. He's everywhere. So, but it was like I said, a great time to get together with family and reflect, and we spend the right time with the right folks and the Smiths of those folks and a couple of other friends of ours. But it was a good time to get together, everybody, and talk about. I
will say, like in the spirit of talking about the new year, we love Christmas. Like I love it. It's my without a doubt. It's my favorite holiday, favorite time of the year. And when I say Christmas, I mean the week before and the week after. So it's almost like a 2-week period, which was I've been trained to kind of look at it that way. I remember because my dad died in October. And so that first Christmas was crazy. It was crazy not to have him around. So I can only imagine that it was, in your guys' case, because your family's so close and everybody, I mean, I can only imagine, like how hard it was. But at the same time, that Christmas, and I remember it was Christmas of 2007, that Christmas if it wasn't for Christmas, it totally helped us. It helped us kind of to manage that. I don't mean to get all down and stuff.
There is an appreciation factor at that time that you get to spend time with family, and you do look at it a little bit differently. But
and we talked about him. We talked, and I'm sure you guys do it as well. Like we talked about kind of all of like the the fun things, and as kind of as the wounds heal, you remember all that great stuff. You remember all that that good stuff that is that made. It made, kind of our family. We're fortunate too that our family is very close, and it made us kind of who we were, And so Christmas is a great time to, to kind of talk about. We have in our house we have this kind of one light in our yard that's for my old man.
Yep.
So when we do that every year, and it's the first light that gets lit up, stays lit the whole time. We never turn it off, and then we turn it off like around his birthday, which is nice. In April. So that runs my electricity bill up a little bit, but in honor of my old man, why not?
In the same vein, I got pretty lit up as an honor of making sure. Same idea.
That's right.
I was the first one to get lit up. You'd be surprised. So we did the same idea. There's a lot of similarities.
Speaking of getting lit up, I did get you a present this year.
Oh.
Now the good news. I have good news and bad news. The good news is
you drank it.
I didn't drink it. The good news is I did, and I honest to God I have it. So I didn't drink it. The bad news is it froze because the ye old Christmas.
See, now I'm really motivated to come over. Now I'm really motivated.
Well, you don't have to. I'll
bring it over to the office. Bring it over to the office. Actually, send one of your employees over with it. Next time they're going to sign some documents. That'd be even better. That'd be even better.
That's right. They're heading over there probably right now. So
That's right.
All right.
So what other than the savings component of it, which I think we've covered, pretty thoroughly. Again, I think the takeaway is you don't have to put the brakes on your lifestyle to make these incremental changes around this aspect of it. Now, again, everybody says the same thing. Oh, big deal. You mentioned $6,000, right? So I was able to tuck away, $500. What's $6,000? Big deal. It's not $6,000. It's $6,000 this year.
Yeah.
And it's $6,000 next year. And it's $6,000 the year after that.
Or it could be more next year.
And you roll that out on a chart that says, if my $6,000 does a little bit, this gets someplace. This gets you going someplace. Yeah. And the other thing is, if you start doing something like this, these other surprises that show up during the course of the year don't blow everything up, right? You get a $1,200 repair bill for the car. It's not a big deal, right? So fine, you don't end up at $6,000, you end up at $48,000, but you didn't have to go on the hawk for the $1,200 to put on a credit card. You're in good shape.
You didn't have to go to your Uncle Tommy to go ask him. Yeah.
You didn't get that money in a paper bag, handed to you underneath the table at a restaurant, which is how that usually happens. And so
or that's a florist.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So that's what you're trying to think about. You're trying to say to yourself, all right, this is what works, right? This is kind of moving in that direction. And if you do this, for a little bit of time, at some point you say to yourself, we've tucked a couple of bucks away here, and now we've got a little bit of breathing room, right? Now you got some flexibility.
We mentioned before, we mentioned credit card debt. I mean, and that's the thing. In a budget, that the reason why budgets are never to the penny and are never like totally work is because there's things you don't see coming.
That's right.
There's things like your repair bill, my kid comes and says, oh, it cost me an extra $800 to be in the sorority. I'm like, oh, that's wonderful. Like, who's paying for that, right? So there's these things that come out of, or you have to travel or whatever it is, there's things that you don't really see that you're not necessarily budgeted for, but if you're saving $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 a year, then maybe a portion of that could be to kind of cover those expenses that you don't see.
Think about home ownership, right? Think about some of the things that could go wrong at your house that, I'm not talking a $1,200 repair bill, I'm talking an $8,200 furnace bill, right? Or your roof nets together, the roof, or the septic goes, or some of these other, these aren't big ticket items, these are giant ticket items, right? And so,
these are game changers.
Well, they're game changers. And so you say to yourself, boy, you know what? Our furnace is on the fritz. We have to get a new furnace. I'm bummed out that you have to get a new furnace, but I'm not bummed out when you're writing a check to pay for the new one. You're not happy about it? No one's happy about it. But that's a better scenario than my furnace is on the fritz and I don't have $8,000
and I have to put
$8,000
on my credit card.
That's right. That's right.
And now, like I'm in that. I start that slippery slope of having a credit card debt that I'm never going to be able to pay off, that's going to linger for years and years, and then I'm going to getting creamed in interest payments, and then the whole idea of saving. If I'm saving, but I'm carrying debt on a credit card, that's like they're counterintuitive. They work against one. It's like we always call credit cards like an anti-investment, right? So if a credit card is a 12% interest rate, then guess what? That's guaranteed. That's a guaranteed negative return of 12%, no matter what. As opposed to my market, which there's no guarantee on what I'm going to make in the market. So the idea of kind of carrying a significant amount of credit card debt is bad. Like it's bad in your overall savings plan. So if you can position yourself where you're not going to get there, or it will be very hard for you to get there when these things like your furnace or your roof or your car or whatever, some big ticket thing that you happen to have some money squirreled away for can happen, and then bam, you can pay for it, and then it keeps you out of credit card debt, which allows you to save.
Well, it's funny. I mean, you've probably run into this. You see clients that come in the door, and the people who are of modest means, and I'll tell you, my mom or my dad, worked at worked for the town, or worked for
Were they selectmen? Because if you're a selectman, then you get paid. But
not a venture capitalist, right?
Yeah, right.
Modest means, and then they'll also say to you, and by the way, I put all my kids through college. Right? And so every one of them went to a good school, and mom and dad will rattle off all the schools they went to because they're very proud of it. And then we went on a couple of vacations a year, and we did this, we did that. And oh, by the way, I was also able to save, and then they dump a statement on the table that has $3 million in CDs, and you say to yourself, where'd you save all the money? Yeah. And there's an entire generation of people out there who were phenomenal savers. Yeah. They weren't investors. They weren't playing the market. They were great savers.
Yeah. They just lived within their means.
That's right. They just didn't spend everything, right? And they, to your point, they squirreled it away, right? And there's all kinds of these games that you can make up about it in terms of how to find what somebody I was talking to one day said to me, I don't spend my fives. I said, what do you mean? They said, every time I get a $5 bill, I pull it off to the side, right? So they break a 20, they go to the store, they buy a cup of coffee, they get a 10 and a 5, the 5 goes away, right? The 5 goes away,
I'm going to start doing that.
Good.
I love 5.
You know what?
I love 5.
I'll tell you something right now. If you do it, all of a sudden you say to yourself, stick it in the sock drawer, all of a sudden 3, 4, 5 months go by, you're like, I think I get $1,000 in there.
5s are so much fun.
So much
so much fun.
Let's say 20.
It's my number.
5s, right? So these little games, if you will, these little devices, it's fun to be able to, if you look at it this way and say to yourself, all of a sudden you put a couple of bucks aside, and then you get there's some momentum that builds behind it, right? It's not like climbing the mountain, right? Now at this point, it becomes part of your DNA. It's what you're doing on a regular basis. Now,
and that's the thing is you want to, if you can formulate this habit where it's part of the overall plan, then that's how you save.
That's right.
That's how you do it. Is when it gets to be on autopilot, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to be like, what should I do? You kind of weigh your options. Like, if it's happening, if I'm saving $300 a month into my brokerage account, then I'm saving. That's what I'm doing.
Right.
Again, I'm paying my cable bill. I'm saving my $300. I'm doing this. And that's my list of my costs. And after all that, if I have extra money, then I say, okay, well, what can I do? Can I increase my savings?
That's right.
Can I get a better cable package? Maybe I can buy a new car that I can, where I can afford a bigger car package. Whatever. I mean, that's how you manage. But if as long as you have that's one of your line items, then you're on the right track.
Well, and as funny as it sounds, right? The cable package thing, that's a huge deal, right? I mean, you just combine, and you see these things on TV all the time. Oh, for $90 a month versus whatever you're paying, right? That's real money. That's real savings. And you combine a move like that with some of these, grocery items we talked about, to find $200, it's not out of the stratosphere.
I think a lot of people may be able to find $200 in their Dunkin' Donuts bill, right? Just your Dunkin' Donuts cost. Make your own, buy the pound of Dunkies coffee, make it at home.
Yeah.
You could save $20 a week.
I think it's around a lot of the discretionary items we talked about. I think
Starbucks.
The biggest
Go back to Starbucks.
The biggest one is the dining out. It's all around the food.
That's right.
It's all around the food.
It's all food.
It's the dining
Don't
out.
Eat.
How much you're spending in groceries.
Stop eating.
All that stuff.
Stop eating. Oh, and now, if you were to say that maybe you could save money in beer, then we'd be like, there's no money to save.
Carried away.
No, you can't save
that
it.
budget is locked
as a matter of,
down.
As a matter,
locked down.
Mortgage payment.
That's right.
Mortgage
That's right.
payment. It's beer mortgage right there.
Yep.
In
that order. In that order.
In that order.
That's
All right.
right.
So got my $750 a month beer.
Right.
$2,000 a month mortgage, and then we go from there.
Yep. Why can't we afford a place down the Cape? I don't know. Let's
go.
Let's go ask Charlie Hickey. Let's go ask Charlie Hickey right now.
Yeah,
why can't we do that?
Maybe if Charlie Hickey gave us a little bit of break, maybe if we brought some of these bottles back instead of throwing them in the backyard.
That's right. Hiding them in the backyard, hiding them in the trash. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Throwing them in the neighbor's pool for fun. Look, another floating Corona.
Yep, they love that. They love that. Yep, they love that. So, anything else before we get ready to wrap it up? Any other ideas that are just burning a hole?
No. We're going to leave it at that.
Sweater-soaked mind of yours today.
We're going to start here. Maybe I'll wear the sweater next week. But we'll start here, and we'll move forward from there. This is a great starting point. We're not going to take too big a bite for 2018. Let's start off. Let's just start moving. Momentum. Moving forward like a plow.
One step. Well, you'll be using that this week too, if you haven't already.
Maybe I will.
Well, don't laugh. That's another thing, right? People say all the time, well, we have all these other services that come to the house. Well, do we need them all? Do we use them all? Are we happy with them? Is there room for that in the budget?
Do you plow your own driveway?
No, snowblower.
You snowblower.
And with a gravel driveway, it's literally like firing up a Gatling gun about 6 times a year. That's what it's like.
That's right.
Deer don't even come to the house anymore. They know it's coming. They stay away. That's exactly what it's all about.
Kids stay in the house, right? Yep. That's why you have those metal shutters, right, on your windows there.
That's right.
Did
you ever see a Gatling gun at work? In person?
Have I seen a
actual old school Civil War Gatling gun?
I've never seen one fire.
Right, we'll talk about it off. We'll talk about it off.
I've seen the later version, like the
updated version,
which was on the Hercules tank killer, which came out of the bottom of that plane. I've seen one of those things fire.
I bet you that's got some power behind it.
Yeah, that thing. It's got a little bit. Puts a little wind in the air. Yeah. All right, we'll be back next week on Money and Law with Jay Mars and John Droyan, Christian from Holliston Cable Access TV, My FM 101.3. Hope you learned something today. And as always, you can always contact the station to find out more. And please join us next week at 9 o'clock Saturday morning.
Have a great week, everybody.
Have a great week.